Greetings chaps, Stuart Charles here, HomeStudioBasics.com, helping you make sound decisions. So, today we're going to talk about the HiFiMan RE-600S and do a little comparison to the RE-400. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The build on the RE-600S is, it's not bad. It's a little bit plasticky, like when you hold these in your hand you feel like they might be something that you would find at your local drugstore, but the upside is that over long listening sessions you're not going to have to worry about them being too heavy, although IEMs generally aren't heavy, but these are particularly light, but they do work really well. You're never going to feel like you're going to have to take them out due to the discomfort of, say, like a heavier type of headphone like an Aussie or something like that. Obviously these are not headphones, but point being is that they're light enough to keep in your ears without worry. So as far as the other aspects of the build, we've got a longish cable. It's sort of like a fabric type of cable, and it harkens back to the 400i's. The 400i at Audio Advice that I demo has a fabric cable, and it did tend to fray over time. Not sure if that is going to happen here. I've read some reviews about these earbuds that say that in fact the fabric covering the inside of the wire does start to break down over time, which isn't good. But I'm not an owner of these, I'm just demoing them, so that's something to keep in mind. At the bottom of the cable, before it heads off into the 3.5mm termination, you've got a small plastic piece that says HiFiMan on one side and RE-600S on the other. Now that plastic piece joins the two cables together, forms into one, and then terminates in a 3.5mm at the other end. With the RE-400, you get an L shape, and with this is a straight termination, so just a small difference there. Also, these are mostly black with a touch of silver, while the RE-400s are mostly grayish / silver. They both come with an assortment of tips, although the RE-400s only come with 8 sets of tips, including the ones that come on the earbuds themselves, whereas with the RE-600S you're getting an ungodly amount of tips, too many to even count. We've got plenty of options here. So yeah, let's get into comfort while we're at it. The only issue really is that the black ear tips cause, for me anyway, and some others have reported this with HiFiMan tips, cause ear canal sensitivity. Now, the good news is that the white tips, or the clear ones that also come in the box, do not cause that issue. So if you have sensitivity in your ears, you'll probably want to just stick with one of the clear sets of tips, which is what I did. I didn't have any trouble. Basically what happens is that they just really make your ears itch, and you have this sort of burning sensation / desire to rip them out, and it's very, very uncomfortable and kind of almost a deal breaker, I think. But of course you have the white tips at your disposal, but the majority of the tips that each of these comes with are black. So but your mileage may vary. You may not have those types of sensitivities like I did. The RE-400s come with just a set of 10 filters basically. So think of it like what you would do if you modded a headphone or something like that. You're putting small pieces of fabric or cloth or some type of material to dampen the sound. They're very, very tiny in this case, obviously, because the drivers are very small. But I did try it out, and I kind of enjoyed the sound a little bit more with them on. Comfort-wise, when they're in your ears, they feel really good. It's just that you might have that sensitivity. So yeah, how do these sound now? Extremely, extremely detailed sound. Like that's really the main overarching theme, and it's kind of really eye-opening to me that an IEM like this would sound even more detailed than some headphones that I've heard. And it's kind of a disappointment in that these reveal a lot of things that I was missing in other headphones, and I found it astonishing that you can hear a lot more going on than even something like a to me anyway, than something like a 400i or a 4XX. Stuff in the background becomes more fleshed out. Voices particularly, you can start to hear what the artist is saying. Like in the beginning of this one specific song, I couldn't make out what she said, and then I put these on and I was able to clearly hear what she said. And that to me was, I don't know, I've never really been a big IEM guy, but I'm starting to really, these are starting to really grow on me. I'd rather just have a pair of headphones to put on my head, because wearing a set of headphones makes me feel like I'm getting a better sound signature, even if I'm not. The sound signature of these is very fluid, lush, very detailed, like I said, but it kind of reminds me of the earbud version of a 400i, if that makes sense. The bass here is maybe a little bit rolled off, but not too much so. I find that there's a nice amount of thump. The treble is definitely not bright or sibilant at all. Some would call it lacking sparkle. I think they may have a point there. I mean, I really enjoy this treble a lot, because I find that most headphones tend to over exaggerate the high end, whereas HiFiMan generally doesn't. The 4XX does have a little peak at 9 to 10K, which is fairly irritating, but these are very subdued in the treble, laid back and relaxed. You're never going to get that bite or essiness to them, which is why I really, really like them a lot. Some people may find that to be, a little bit of a lack of energy, perhaps. It's not untrue or anything. They're not wrong, but you're not wrong.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay then.
But yeah, the mid-range here, I haven't looked at any graphs. This review and these impressions are purely based off of my own experience. So I may be wrong as far as comparing the sound signature with a graph. I found that the mids are very good, very present mids. The bass doesn't get in the way of the mid-range. This is a problem with like reading what other people say, is sometimes, because I made all these impressions firsthand, and then I was looking for some specifications and I stumbled across a few reviews, and the problem with reading other people's opinions is that it sort of gets filtered into your own impressions and becomes you're almost kind of parroting what others say. I didn't find these to be too laid back. They are definitely more relaxed than your average headphone sound signature, but they sound fantastic to me. It's the type of sound that you could sit back and enjoy for a long period of time without wanting to take them out, because there's no real musical fatigue, and the IEMs themselves sound very musical. I really like this sound signature, and yeah, so you're not going to really need an amp with these. They're very, very efficient, have a very low impedance. I don't know the exact numbers. I can flash that up on the screen for you guys, but they also work with a wide variety of genres, including classical. Now, classical is a very hard genre to match with headphones. I find that, I like certain types of classical music. I'm really a huge fan of Claude Debussy. These work fantastically well with classical music. The soundstage is very, very good. There's a lot of height to the image, a lot of width, and great spacing. I was listening to the classical station mostly through my stereo, which I've shown you guys at Panasonic. Maybe it's not the fairest of comparisons, but when I put these on and listened to the classical station, I was hearing so much nuance, like in the human voice especially. Those breathy noises that the composers make, the grunts and the sniffs and like all those little details that you don't really hear, even through headphones, I was hearing. And it just makes for a more intimate and engaging experience. And so there was, at one point I thought I heard something going on above me, like upstairs, but it turned out to be the song. So extremely good height to this image when you put these on, which is fairly astonishing when you consider that they are in fact earbuds. Now, my boy Solid Lad, he was telling me how he actually prefers earbuds for FPS gaming. And I can totally see why he said that now that I've listened to these. He wasn't referring to these specifically, but these actually remind me of what he was talking about, which are the Tin Audio T2s. I've gotten a chance to demo those as well. Definitely a similar sound signature. Maybe the T2s sound a little bit more refined and I don't know, refined, maybe a little bit more professional sounding, but it's a really small difference and could be just my imagination. I'd have to like A/B them back and forth, but when he told me that and I put these on and listened, I can totally see where he's coming from, because these would make perfect sound whoring earbuds. You can hear pretty much everything that's going on, and they also make great reference buds, because you start to hear so much detail within the human voice, even while the person's not singing. So I'm mostly referring to just the way a vocal inflection sounds through a microphone. These really define those characteristics like almost to a T. The differences between the RE-400 and the RE-600S are not gargantuan, or they're fairly minuscule in passing, very subtle differences. Maybe the 600S has a bit more refinement to it. Doesn't sound as maybe the RE-400 is a little bit less resolving, a little bit less refined, but it's a very, very subtle, small difference that it won't really even matter. If you can get the RE-400, definitely check that out. I'll put some links down below. But yeah, that's about it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave me some love down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. If you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, hit that Patreon link down below, and always remember, don't feed the troll. Check. Review brought to you by Stu. Here's the coda. I'm nasty on the mic. Call me warm soda. Chopped up this beat real fine like cold produce. Steady in my veggies so I can focus on my David Copperfield. Y'all hocus pocus. A little loopy when I wrote this. Esoteric dopeness. Cultivating the will of a soldier. Fighting through the pain like Dooku. I told ya, sold you on my style. Snapping on cats like Private Pile. I get semi-wild every once in a while. 911 on the dial. Alone at the top with no rival. Dark is my world without a Bible. Without God's love there's no survival. So my mindset is tribal. Yeah, my mindset is tribal. Yeah, my mindset is tribal.